Hello, everybody. It's Gary Stuckey with Real Music. On today's episode, an amazing drummer that you might know. Yes, it's Roger Earl, the drummer for Foghat, is here talking about their brand new album going to be released on November the 10th. Can't wait, right? I've already been listening to it, but you'll be able to hear it November 10th. Get you one of those vinyl copies. It's called Sonic Mojo, and it is great. Yeah, you need to check it out. We're going to be talking about that and his career and so much more. Here we go. Here he is, Roger Earl.
Hey, the record is really good.
Awesome. That's a cool cover.
It is.
A cool cover.
Our brilliant manager did all the artwork. Hold on. Gets better.
Oh, wow. I love that. That's so cool. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I was playing it last night just to check it out. The band is really pleased with the record, the way it sounds and all the different tracks we got on it. It was a lot of fun making the record as well.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it was. That's coming out November the 10th. Is that right?
That's correct, yeah.
Awesome.
We're releasing singles apparently for some reason. The record world has changed. It's different from what it was. So, and the way you listen to music, though, I still actually I got a new record player for my last birthday. Scott Hull, our singer guitar player, has a record store down in Columbia, Tennessee. So he's really into vinyl and stuff. And mine was sort of piled up in a corner, not functioning anymore. So I was listening to stuff with CDs, which I'm fine with anyway. I changed everything from cassettes and vinyl, then cassettes, then CDs. I don't really like listening to stuff on my phone, though I do have some in-ears that I have made for me, and it does sound good, but then you can't hear anything else.
Right.
Record player's my favorite. You sit down, turn the speakers on, and you sit just right in the middle, so there's functioning.
Exactly.
I used to enjoy that when I was growing up. There would be, a couple of the first band I was in, and we would, whenever a record came out, I remember when Jimi Hendrix's first record came out, the three of us would sit in in the room and get the speakers just loud enough, so that and we go, wow. And then we put it on again. Yeah, those were the days. Never mind. But it's I always think music should be something you share. I mean, I enjoyed that, the camaraderie, thinking, wow, listen to that. Do you hear that? And whereas now people wander around with oblivious to the world, but they're listening to something. So I suppose that's a good thing.
I guess so. At least they're still listening. Yeah, the album, back in the day when you'd get the album would come out and you'd get it and listen to it. And like you said, you got it in your hands as opposed to on a phone. And phones kind of distort the sound too. I think, like you said, if you're right in the middle of a record, playing a record and you're listening to like Led Zeppelin or something, I'm just saying you want to be right in the middle of that, kind of like at a concert feel, instead of being a little device. And you can't hold the song in the air. You want an album. You want to see who wrote the songs, who played, just like that.
We got a story.
Love it.
I remember a couple of times with a couple of our early albums, our manager at the time was a real Beatles fan, so he wanted to have the black album, the white album, and the first album had some stuff on it, but not really stories. And then the second album, Rock and Roll Outlaws, I think it was. I mean, it was, had some pictures, didn't have any stories. And then we had Rock and Roll. There was no stories on there. It was just a picture of a rock and roll, which was cool. And then the back of it was just this white. And I'm going, why don't we have a story? But anyway, that's a different. Now we have a manager who gives a shit, and she says, "Write a story here."
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. See. So that is cool though. I mean, you want that experience. You want that you want to read all about the band. You want to hear stories. That's why we do interviews. You want to hear all these stories. You want to find out stuff you didn't know. And
Yeah.
I guess, you know,
One of the things that we did with this, it was, I don't know if it was deliberate. It just happened that way. When we're sort of, we had probably about another 10 or 12 songs that didn't go on the record because we liked these ones and it was like, that was it. But every song is like, I don't think any of the songs are more than 4 minutes. Most of them are between 3 and 4 minutes. I don't know if it was deliberate because this band has a penchant for like saying things like, 10 minutes later you stop the song. Ideas. But this time round, we I think we just like the arrangements and the way we crafted the song. It was deliberate. It was like, why have a 10-minute guitar solo? I mean, we know everybody can play in this band. Actually, that's one of the really cool things with this band. We have two great guitar players. Scott Holt joined us. Well, I've known Scott since 2015. No, 2014 was the first time I met him. So he's actually been involved in the band throughout then. He played on our last studio album, Under the Influence, and we also did a record called Earl and the Agitators, which is basically Foghat as it is today. We was one of the band always, back in 2014, I broke my back. I think it was in 2010. I fell off the stage and cracked two vertebrae. I was out of action for about 4 or 5 months. Yeah, it wasn't good, but they glued me back together. And then we decided, well, maybe we should have, somebody as a stand in if something happens, which isn't easy with this band because Brian Bassett, our lead and slide guitar player, is like absolutely brilliant. Rob Price was probably one of the best, in my opinion, one of the best slide guitar players ever in that sort of rock and roll blues genre. So replacing us for some dates or two is difficult. But very good friend of mine, Bobby Rondinelli, stood in for me. We had like 14 dates on the books that we had to do. So it's just something we did. Anyway, Scott came down. He was recommended by a friend of ours to be to stand in for Charlie Hune, who was our singer at the time. So we have, standing in the wings, we have clone Foghats. I just hope we don't have to use them anymore. No,
yeah,
people are pretty healthy at the moment, so we're good.
that's good. That's always good.
But, but the thing is, the promoter puts all this money up, and we usually get 50% ahead of the date so that we can pay for flights and all that stuff. So it's rough if you have to cancel a date. Everybody loses, and it's kind of tight out there anyway. Like promoters, like staying ahead of the game and like keeping their profit margins because bands are greedy. No, we're not. We play for free.
Yeah, of course you do. All the time when you're at home, by yourself, you have to get out of your system. So how did you come up with the name Sonic Mojo? Now, when I think of Mojo, I think of Austin Powers or losing his mojo. How do you not? How do you
No.
lose your mojo?
I'm going to read it to you.
Go ahead.
Sonic, adjective, a frequency with the audibility range of the human ear of waves and vibrations. Mojo, noun, a charm, an amulet, thought to have magic powers. So actually, Sonic, actually, I think it was our manager probably came up with that first, and Scott came up with Mojo, and I made the decision to join the two together. Uh-oh, the manager just walked in.
Uh-oh. Don't say anything bad.
I mustn't tell any porky pies.
Save those for later.
Yeah, no, it's the manager. It's all her fault. So yeah, it was it's always normally I guess you'd have a song title that's on the album like Fall for the City or something, but uh, it's sort of interesting coming up with a title for the album. But it seems to work because we've got, there's two or three like blues songs on there. uh there's obviously we've got a Chuck Berry song on there. So it's we've got a country tune on there written by a great country writer and singer and performer. And my brother Colin wrote a song about Hank Williams, which is one of my favorites on there. He'd wish he'd been around when Hank Williams came to town, but
Awesome.
yeah, I liked it. Have you heard the record?
Yeah, I've been listening to it. Good stuff. Oh, that's something to think about though. That classic sound. How do you maintain that classic sound when there's so many other sounds out there musically? How do you keep it to your original kind of a sound that you have?
I don't think it's that as so much as it's our influences. Everybody in the band, we have very similar tastes in like the reasons we got into playing music. Chuck Berry, Muddy Waters, John Lee Hooker, and obviously some great sort of country tunes and guitar players. It's basically American music. This is the land of music. Uh, when I was growing up in southwest London and central London, I would listen to well Sun Records. My
Yeah,
older
yeah.
brother Colin, Jerry D. Lewis, Little Richard probably had one of the greatest rock and roll bands ever. Certainly one of the best drummers. What was his name? Old Palmer. That was one of my early influences. Just American music. This is the land of music. When the Africans got dragged here, they brought their rhythms and everything else. I mean, without that, the blues was the basis for any all contemporary music, as far as I'm concerned.
I
Blues.
agree.
Then we got jazz. Then we got like bebop, rock and roll, and of course, country music. Like comes from, I guess, from like some of the tunes and melodies come from the English, Welsh, Scottish, Irish, Spanish, from Spain and France too, probably. And there's this wonderful melting pot in this country. And as far America has given music to the world, the way the world listens to music. I mean, some people might not sort of go along with that, but I know where it comes from. It comes from here, my adopted home. This is the land of music, and I think it's one of the US's greatest assets. The fact that we have that wonderful joining of sounds. I mean, country, bebop, religious music, gospel music, especially. There's
Yeah,
some wonderful music has come out of that. The joy of, I'm not a particularly religious person, but I believe in God. But it's like you hear gospel music, you've got to move. You want to move. It's,
sure, sure. I know
so
all about that. Yeah. Um, I'm from Alabama. Talking about Hank Williams. I mean, he grew up about 50 miles from here.
right.
Yeah, music moves you, and it's something that we all can agree on. We might be, having wars here and there and arguments, but we can come together for music. Isn't that always nice, right?
Right. That I know how fortunate I am. I mean, ever since I was probably there was always music in our house where I lived. My father played piano, somewhat in the style of like Fat Swallow, that heavy-handed kind of like that. And in fact, he was the first one who brought a Jerry Lee Lewis single into the house. My father, and he took me to see Jerry Lee Lewis when I was 12 or 13. I was never the same after
How
that.
can you can't be the same after listening to stuff like that.
No,
Well,
he was a huge influence on me.
Well, tell me this now. The album, I know, of course, you were in Savoy Brown, and the late great Kim Simmons. You got some songs written with him. How did you get involved with him uh, and recording some songs?
Well, about after we left Savoy Brown in 1971, I reconnected with him in around 76, and we stayed in because we both got busy for a while, and we stayed friends over the years. And about 10 years or so ago, I think our manager was instrumental in getting Savoy Brown with the same agency as us. So then we got a chance to do shows together. Um, our last studio album, Under the Influence, I invited Kim to come down and play on a bunch of the tunes, which he did, and it was magic. And then after we finished the sessions in 2 or 3 days down in Nashville with our producer at the time, Tom Hambridge. And Kim and I were just talking. He said, I'd really like to write some songs for Foghat. And I said, oh, that would be great. So then we had the COVID nightmare, and that sort of slowed everybody down.
Right.
But Kim sent me four basic tracks, like with his singing, his guitar, and I think it was like to a click track or something. And we got our grubby little fingers on them. There was the one song we didn't put on, but that will go on the next record, I think. Um, and at the time, I said to Kim, that would be great, but you have to play on them. Unfortunately, Kim became ill, and he couldn't. He actually couldn't play. In fact, his last actually record with Savoy Brown that he made, he was playing just slide guitar because he had issues with his fingers. It was pretty sad. I talked to him about 2 months before he passed, but I couldn't actually talk to him in the hospital. I don't know, that would have been a good idea anyway. But
Mhm.
yeah, it was a bit rough. I went to his funeral, and that was I should say I can't really say that it was good, but it was very uplifting the way everybody had something really, really kind and real to say about Kim. He touched so many lives, a lot of drummers actually, but everybody he worked with had something to say about the man. He was he was very well read. He was a fantastic blues guitarist. I think that's the one thing that how he wanted to be remembered as a blues guitarist more than anything. And he was. He always stayed faithful to his influences from the very beginning. Yeah, it was a sad day when we lost him, and he couldn't play on the record, obviously. But I think I think we did a real number on his tunes.
I'm sure he would be happy with that too.
Yeah, we took liberties.
That's awesome. Musically, y'all are known for playing, live, and y'all have a lot of fun live and a great sound. How do you capture that, like on a new album like this? How do you how do you capture that on a studio album? All that energy that that whole sound. How do you do that?
Uh, Smoke and mirrors. No.
Of course,
No,
I do
well,
it.
we have our own studio down in DeLand, Florida. It's on 10 acres in the middle of nowhere, and it's a house. We got 4 bedrooms, so the band stays there. We it's There's no red lights. Brian Bassett, our lead and slide guitar player, is also our engineer and producer, and co-produces everything with the rest of the band. But he's absolutely brilliant. Um, I think that's something I've learned over the years. If I'm working with somebody who obviously has some real talent, I I get maximum out of it. It's like, oh, so
Right.
you engineer things? Well, we'll build a studio around you. Um, Bob Ryan. Now, actually, I think he loves every moment of it. He's probably one of the best people I know. Is an absolutely brilliant guitar player. In fact, everybody in the band, we it's a band, I think, in every sense of the word. You know, sometimes when you're on the road, we do we fly into most of the dates, but occasionally we have to do some overnight drives. Either in a Sprinter or we'll have a couple of station wagons or something. And it's 400 or 500 miles. I mean, that's a trek, and nobody's getting much sleep. Everybody argues about, I'll drive. No, no, let me drive. Nobody moans. It's you know what? It's like it's all about that hour and a half. Actually, we're up to about an hour and 45 minutes now. Of music. Everything else is like hurry up and wait, and like what sort of sandwich are we going to get today? It's like it's all about the music. I'm one of those fortunate few in this world that got to earn a living and made a career out of something that I love doing, and likewise with the rest of the guys in the band. Rodney O'Quinn, who joined us 7 years ago, was on bass. Because Craig McGregor, our longtime bass player, had cancer. At the time, we had 3 or 4 different bass players playing in the band because I said to Craig, "You let me know when you can't play anymore." Because if we'd have a date, like say with Deep Purple or ZZ Top or somebody, Craig would say, "Oh, I feel like coming out and playing that one."
Yeah, right. Got to
So
make it.
he knew all those guys. We grew up together. That was a rough one, but he actually Craig McGregor handpicked Rodney O'Quinn. He went to see Rodney was playing with Pat Travers' band, great band, and Craig went to see him at near his home out in Pennsylvania, and invited Rodney back to his house the following morning for breakfast. Craig was a great chef too, and later on that day, after Rodney left, Craig called me up and he said, "You want Rodney O'Quinn? He's like a mini me." I got the okay from his bandmates, and we stole Rodney O'Quinn.
And the rest is history. I'm sure he was happy for that, for the compliment too.
Right.
Well, let's rewind the clock a little bit, shall we?
Sure.
Now, I always wondered, I know you've been asked this question 10 million times, but I always want to know what a fog hat. What is a fog hat? Do you wear a fog hat? You are a fog
hat. I'm a Foghat. Rodney O'Quinn's a Foghat. Brian Bassett is a Foghat, and Scott Holt is definitely a Foghat. I think all previous other Foghats would have okayed the fact that we got Scott Holt into this band. Yeah, he's a Foghat. It's actually it was a word that Lonesome Dave made up when he was a kid, and it's like a Scrabble type game. But yeah, we're all Foghats. Of course, there were sort of connotations with like smoking and stuff back from our first album. There's smoke coming out of Luther's head, but no, I'm a Foghat, and we
That's
got
good.
Foghats. We got Foghats all over the place. They turn up from time to time at a bunch of concerts with us.
That's good. That you recognize them from the crowd. You could tell. You can see the difference.
There's one.
There he is, the guy with the fog on his head. Well, when y'all started out, like with Savoy Brown, why did y'all decide to form this band, this Foghat? What was the reason?
I think it was time for a change. Tony Stevens was fired for whatever reason, I don't recall. He was a good bass player. And Dave and I, after we talked to Kim and his manager, that was his brother, we decided the next day that we'd leave. We talked to Harry Simmons, the manager, and said, "Look, we'll leave, but we'll stay until Kim puts a new band together," which worked out for us. And Kim also, Savoy Brown had a number of hit records and a great deal of success after we left. So I think it's just time to move on. There was other reasons as well, but my relationship with Kim, certainly throughout the Savoy Brown era that I was in the band, was great. We never had crosswords. It was always and the same with Dave as well. With Kim, we got on really well. We were really comfortable working with each other. We trusted each other musically. So
That's good. There you go. There you go. There's the Foghat. That's where it came from, right there. That cap.
I will. I will. In fact, I have a collection of hats for the day when I lose all my hair. But up to this point, I've been okay.
You're doing good. Keep going. Hey,
Yeah,
that's a fog cap.
that's
That,
yeah.
so technically, it's not a hat. It's a fog cap. You got to change your name. Change the name of the band to Fog Cap.
Okay.
Uh, so whenever the band started out, you know, you were a few albums in, and then of course, you had uh, the song "Slow Ride." Friend of
Oh,
mine, uh, Neil, a friend of mine, he's a drummer, and he's like he was watching the movie Dazed and Confused, and there's a part in there, you know, with Foghat, the song "Slow
God.
Ride," and he wanted me to ask you about the drum, the intro there. How did you come up with that? That's a really cool intro for that.
Uh, Actually, I have to blame our producer and our bass player at the time, Nick Jameson. We Nick had just joined the band, and I had shared a house out on Long Island with Rob Price, our lead and slide guitar player. I was living up in Woodstock, up in Bearsville at the time, but we shared a house down here. We had the basement soundproofed. Anyway, Nick joined the band, and he and I drove down from Woodstock, and it was one of the first songs we did. It came from a jam. Nick Jameson said to me, "Hey, Rog, just go bang." I said, "Bang." He said, "Yeah, go bang." It's 2 and 4, the two floor toms and bass drum. Also on the record, Nick and I were stamping on wooden crates as well. We added that to the stamp. Just go bang. It's a very earthy noise, tom toms. Yeah.
Awesome.
That was a lot of fun making that record. But it all came from a jam. Nick Jameson arranged all the stuff, like the breakdown, and Nick and I were very tight as far as friends. And he's an absolutely brilliant musician and producer. He can play anything and everything really well. Don't you hate people like that? Us mere mortals like struggle with one instrument, and then there's these other people like who play everything great. Don't you hate them?
Well, there's a few people like that out there. Yeah, you throw darts at their picture, but it's okay.
Right,
Though. It's okay. Take that, you
go in the nose.
right there. Well, those songs, like especially that song.
Yeah,
It's a jam song. That song was really long, right? Aren't there different versions of that song that's like really, really long?
yeah. When after we'd finished recording it, we were recording up in Sharon, Vermont, Sun Treader Studios in the middle. It's on the top of a mountain in the middle of nowhere, and we took about 3 months off the road to actually make that record. So that was really cool. The fact that we could actually concentrate on, making the record. Previous records, other than the first one, were done a couple of weeks at a time at various studios, across the states or even in Wales. We did some stuff over there as well, but it was the first time since the first record that we actually took the time off. So the record was very successful, and it was because I think we took time. And that's one of the things that we do now. We take our time with the record. It's not a race. We are the record company, or rather, our manager is the record company. Without her, nothing would get done. We'd just sort of start loading her up with songs and saying, "Can you do something with this? Can you put a record together, please?"
Right. Well, you're talking about taking time to listen. Like when you're recording an album, do you sit back and record the album like, a few parts here, a few parts there? Do you listen to it and go, it needs some of this? What do you listen for when you're trying to find greatness in a song?
Most of the time, January, February, March, around that area, we get that's when we spend most of our time in the studio, because the rest of the time during the year, we're on the road or busy. So we because the way we had the studio is set up, there's no red light. We're in charge. Oh, God help us. Uh, it's, um, and it's we have fun with it. It's We sit there, we play, we have ideas. Everybody has ideas of songs, of riffs, and also sometimes, when we're doing sound checks, we'll just start playing, and one of the bright people in the band will probably start recording it with their phone if they've got any sense, and we try to sift through those. I've got one somewhere. Yeah, that doesn't sound
Right.
right. But it's making music is like fun. Um, and if something's not working or we're struggling with something, leave it alone. Um, but usually we find a way to get something to function. And often, like, something will have on one song doesn't go any further than like that one riff. And then we go, hold on a second, this would go well in here. It's, yeah, it's, making music is a lot of fun and enjoyable. Um, you're serious about it because you want what you're actually playing and doing to the best of your ability. And some bands and some musicians even struggle with that to the nth degree and can't let something go or finish it. Which I can actually, I was talking about that with some friends of ours just the other night, and um, it is kind of troublesome, I think, as far as an artist goes, or a guitar player. But the way I play, and I've always played, I play for the song. I'm the drummer in the band. I'm not doing solos or drum fills because I can. I listen to the music. I listen to the singer. I listen to the words. I listen to the lead, the guitar. More importantly, the bass player and I are
Yes.
we're tight. And I've been fortunate throughout my career. I've always played pretty much with great bass players. Right from the very first band I was in, my friend Dave Hutchins is back in England when we were kids. We were best friends, and he was a great bass player, still is. And throughout my history, without the bass and drums, they're nothing. They're nothing without us.
I
Craig,
agree.
Craig McGregor and I. Craig had this saying. He said, "Here, Rog," he said, we laid down the road for them to travel on," which I thought was pretty cool. Craig McGregor very tight.
That is something to think about. That for people that don't understand that, they need to pick up a bass or play drums. I didn't realize that for years. I mean, I always played guitar, but then I played bass too. And hanging out with a drummer, you're like you said, it's like the foundation. You take that, it's like taking somebody's skeleton out. You got
Yeah,
nothing but a big pile of flesh.
nothing without us.
Nothing. Remember that. Always
There,
remember.
there again. I don't know. A drummer would get away with playing it for an hour and 45 minutes. After about 5 minutes, it'd be like, all right, let's do something else. No,
Well,
I play in a band.
well, for all these years, I mean, over 50 years of playing, I mean, what talking about Mojo? Hey, what keeps you going after all these years to playing that good for all these years? You got to get tired sometime. What keeps you going? And like that, he passed out. That's
Uh,
the end.
yeah, I mean, I've had playing drums. There's a physical side to it. I play drums in a rock and roll band, so it's not like I'm like doing sort of light stuff. I mean, I play the drums. Throughout the years, I've had work done on my hands, both my shoulders, my right knee, my big toe, especially on my right foot. Even though I use double bass drums. The right one has to sort of deal with most of the work. But during my time, my manager finds suitable surgeons to fix me, and there's all sorts of glue out there you can use. Platelet rich plasma like can heal stuff. There's a whole bunch of stuff that's going on now in the especially the sports medicine world that can actually help.
Oh, okay, there you go. Just tape. It's tape head. It's tape head. Just tape it back together. Tape your foot and your leg, and you'll be all right.
Actually, when I was doing the last year of recordings on this album, I tore my shoulder. My whole shoulder fell down. It was hanging on by threads. So I had to tape my arm up with this athletic tape to hold the muscle in place. After about 2 or 3 hours of playing, I had to sort of stop. But a good half of the album was done like that. And then there was a surgeon in Manhattan that our manager found, and he pulls this muscle back up and all the tendons and reattaches them to the bone. That took about 2 or 3 months for me to recover from that. But yeah, I get glued back together, and
strong like bull. Hey, and you're still going. I mean, it's
And throughout the house, there's a practice pad here. I have an electronic drum kit up in one of the bedrooms. I also have a pad and a pedal in the bedroom. That may have to go one day. But I also have my real drums in a shed out in the garden. The neighbors are fine. Apparently, they kind of like it when I'm out there playing.
Of course they do.
Of course they do. Actually, I have some terrific neighbors. They're really, really good people. So they put up with the noise. Yeah, I love my work. I love my job. I play drums in a great band, and I have 3 bandmates.
Well, talking about the neighbors, you probably keep them satisfied because they take requests. You take requests, and you do a few songs of their faves, right?
Yeah. Now, when I sit at my drums in my out there, I'm if I have a couple of times, especially when I was recovering from shoulder surgery or knee surgery or hand surgery, then I have to sit down on my drum kit and get things, the crossing over like that, and get your hands and your feet up to speed. But that's also, and it's there's like with the drummer, it's head, hands, and feet. Up here, you're hearing, the music, and then you have to get it out of here to your appendages. And
Right.
there's a physical side of it where, everything has to be up to speed. I guess it's sort of like it's an athletic side of it. Certainly with, playing in a rock and roll band, but there are probably other forms of percussion that you have to bang everything. You have to bang. What about people who play congas and timbales and stuff? Congas, I don't know. I played congas on a number of records, but like after about 2 or 3 takes, it's like, I'm not doing this anymore.
It's rough, I bet.
I've met some really great like percussionists who play like with their hands, and they're like claws. I don't. But hey, this fun bashing stuff, kicking, bashing, crashing. I mean,
You can get away with it too. Nobody arrests you.
yeah.
It's always good. What about practicing? I mean, you've got drums set up everywhere. You get bored. You say, "I think I'll play the drums." How long is your session? If you're just sitting around, yeah, you go, yeah, play something for me. A little, play the intro to Slow Ride.
Can you hear it?
Oh yeah,
Oh, stop it.
That was the unplugged version,
Yeah,
now released.
the
Yeah,
acoustic version.
awesome. Uh, but how do you prepare, like before, like a show, or if you know, when you're going on a series of shows or a tour or something? What do you do to prepare for this? It's like an athlete. Do you have to get, you know, a lot of work in? Because you know, if you go from not playing to playing, you got to be, for a drummer, it's got to be kind of rough to go from that.
Yeah, I exercise regularly. I stretch. I work out with light weights, bands, stuff like that. I have a voracious appetite, and I try very hard to eat sort of real food. But like sandwiches are probably my favorite. No, yeah, I love to cook. I love to eat.
Me too.
Playing. I carry a pedal with me and a pad, which I set up in my hotel rooms. So, and the pad, it can get noisy, and the pedal is on a beater. So, I asked for a ground floor room and put me away from anybody. That doesn't always happen. I try not to play after 9 o'clock at night. Anybody who's going to bed before 9, I mean, that's not my fault. I'm sorry. I'm a rock. I don't usually go to bed
Yeah,
till 2 in the morning. But
right.
no, I practice regularly. I bring, like I said, a pad and a pedal with me, and it's uh, it's I've been doing it for long enough, whereas I can pick it up. But if I have, a recovery period when I've damaged something, then that takes a while. That usually take a couple of months before I'm back to where I think I'm okay. Um, there's some fast songs that Foghat have played in the past, which is, challenges are good, even at my time of life.
They're always good.
Yeah, a challenge. Yeah. Yeah, it's now life is good. Life is good. And
That's good. Good.
this record.
Well, talking about the record and challenges, what you know, when you're recording or you're getting ready for the album, what excites you when you actually get ready to record? Do you have these ideas in your head about what to play? I mean, because I'm thinking once again about the slow ride. You know, but if you're thinking of all these little parts, I know you do what's right for the song, but how do these ideas come to you where you want? I'm going to do this. I'm going to hit that. How do you do that?
Magic.
It's just magic. You wave a wand,
Magic.
put on the funk.
Generally speaking, with this last record, everybody in the band has input as far as like the creative juices, either a riff, lyrics, a title, a line, words. Everybody's involved in it, but pretty much myself and Scott Holt start the process. Like we'll be sitting there, like either with something that Brian's brought to it, or Scott and I have like had ideas or lyrics, or about a story. That's also, it's and so we just sit and work on stuff, and often we'll when we the four of us will get together in the studio, we'll just start playing, just play, you know. Somebody will just play a riff or even a song that I've never played anyway, um, and just work on stuff. And it's playing music is like fun. It's in fact, Brian had this wonderful way of describing what making music is. He said, I'm going to paraphrase here. Um, it's like having a conversation, and that's what you're doing when you're being creative and making music. You listen to each other, and you're having a conversation. And I thought that sort of sums it up really. I am seriously hearing challenged, so the conversations sometimes you have to shout with me. I don't take offense to people shouting at me because then I can hear. Um,
Well,
But
that's good.
yeah, the audio has changed over the years. The hearing aids and how people you can listen like in ears and it's molded and stuff like that. Uh, so you survive. But playing drums. I've been playing drums for well over 60 years now. You know, it's got to take its toll. Actually, the probably the reason my hearing is really challenged is because over the years, sometimes monitor people, when we have our own monitor person, it's fine. But over the years, the monitors, because you want to listen to, you want to be on a big stage, especially, you want to be able to hear the vocals, you want to be able to hear the lead instruments, whatever you're doing. And so you'll have a monitor either left and right or behind you. And this has happened to me 2 or 3 times over the years. The monitor, you're saying, no, can you just turn the vocal up a little bit? And then I'll say, no, it's not in there. Yes, it is.
Right.
No, no, it's not in there. And the monitor guy will say, yeah, it's in there. No, it's not. And there's no guitar over there either. Yes, it is. It's not in there. And they have a button that's called a mute. Now they've turned all the faders up and they're saying, it's in there. And then they press the mute button and this howl comes up and surrounds you. And 2 or 3 times, yeah, twice, I remember my ears started to bleed. But
That's not.
we don't have that problem anymore. But
Thank God.
that has happened over the years. But
That's got to be rough, though. You're
but
dependent on somebody to
hey,
help you out.
soldiers have to go to war. They say rock and roll when they go. But my job is a lot different. It's not a war zone. It's I'm having conversations with some great musicians.
Yeah, exactly. Uh, but those ears can be damaged. But that's something to think about. There's some big speakers right there in front of you, and you're already playing. The drums are going to be loud. You have to play a certain, loud enough for everybody to hear, of course. But you're right, though. You got to hear everything, or it's going to mess you up.
Well, yeah, songs move up and down in the way you play, but I play. There's a level that I play at, and other drummers play at a certain level that they're comfortable playing at. A drum will only go so loud. Controlling your instrument, which you do. There is some finesse in playing. Especially with playing shuffles and like jazz and stuff like that. Just the way you have to play to build stuff, and that you've always got to have room to go somewhere, and to like lift a solo or lift a certain passage in a song. Uh, but yeah, I play loud. I mean, I play. There's a physical level that you play out of when you're playing a song. If you listen to the first song, like "She's a Little Bit of Everything," you listen to that. I start the drums off, and you can tell that I'm not going. I'm playing.
Right,
And
right.
if actually on this record, last night I put the record on just to hear it again. We had some friends over, and I seem to start off a lot of the songs with the drums, but that's because when we're recording, I set the tempo to where I think the cadence of the vocals or the guitar or the bass or the way the song is, and so other times I would count the song in, but other times I'll just start and then we have a take. That's great. Let's keep that. So it's a fascinating process, and I love it. It's good fun.
Awesome, awesome. Um, over the years of playing, I'm sure you've played with so many people that you've enjoyed. What's one of the most memorable moments with a band maybe that you toured with that you just you know loved and you just couldn't stop thinking about it over the years? Is there some talking about magic? There's always magic when those certain bands tour together. There's got to be something going on there.
Yeah. No, there's a number of bands over the years that I love touring with. Jay Giles Band, probably one of the best American rock and roll R&B bands, blues bands ever. They were tighter than a duck's ass, and that was watertight. Uh, Humble Pie was probably one of the Stevie Marriott leading it was probably one of the best bands ever. ZZ Top. I mean, you listen to ZZ Top, and you just have to move. You can't stand there, even when they play a slow blues. You got to move. Um, there's just so many great bands that we've toured with. The list goes on and on and on. You know, I played with some of my musical heroes. I played with Muddy Waters, John Lee Hooker,
Wow.
uh, Johnny Winter. You know, there was 1977. Foghat did a tribute to the blues at the New York Palladium. Uh, and I think it was the idea of a publicist at the time, but myself and Dave and Rod latched onto it. Well, we get to play with all our musical heroes. Yeah. So Muddy Waters, John Lee Hooker, Paul Butterfield, Johnny Winter, Eddie Kirkland, Willie Big Eye Smith played with Muddy's band. And eventually, you know, Foghat was the house band and we played with everybody. And then we did, at the very end of the night, we did Muddy Waters' version of I Just Want to Make Love to You with the whole ensemble. Yeah, that was a highlight of my life. When you play with your musical heroes, I mean, I've met, you know, so many people, and they always like Willie Dixon, who was the architect of rock and roll. I mean, without Willie Dixon, there would be no rock and roll. He wrote "I Just Want to Make Love to You." He was the producer for Chess Records. I mean, with Chess Records, like I mean, it was Chuck Berry. I never got to meet Chuck. I was close once or twice. Quick story, Chuck Berry.
Sure. Sure.
1974, we're doing a show down in San Diego. Jay Giles was on the show as well. Foghat and Chuck Berry was on. Lonesome Dave and I are huge Chuck Berry fans. Again, there would be no rock and roll if it wasn't for Chuck Berry. A whole bunch of bands would be out of work. Us,
Exactly.
and anyway, Chuck's up there. He does his thing. He's coming down the steps with his guitar and his money bag, and he gets paid in cash, or got paid in cash, I should say. And we asked our manager to ask Chuck if we could have a picture taken with him. So our manager goes up to Chuck Berry and says, "Excuse me, could my band have a picture taken with you?" And Chuck says, "Sure, anytime," and kept on walking. The picture is our manager at the time trying to hold Chuck's hand like this. Sure, anytime. And then he got into his convertible Cadillac with his rather pretty blonde by his side, put his guitar in the back, convertible, by the way, and off he drove. Yeah. But yeah, I would have liked to have played with Chuck Berry, but I've heard some pretty interesting stories. Actually, the one thing I thought was fantastic was you've disappeared. Oh, there you are.
Oh,
Keith Richards and Chuck's 60th birthday did. It was in St. Louis, of course, Chuck's hometown, and did a recording and filming called "Hail Hail Rock and Roll." I don't know if you've ever seen it, but
yes. Oh, yes.
Keith Richards did something for his musical hero, which I thought was really cool. I mean, Keith has to be like this. I mean, he's made so many great riffs and records, but I mean, doing something like that for one of your musical heroes, that's really cool.
It really is. Wow. So cool. And well, like you said, I mean, when you get a chance to play with heroes and you're on stage, you know, it makes a big difference. Now, I'm sure there's younger artists that consider you a hero. Are there some artists that, you know, the younger generation have played with you that were like freaking out because can't believe I'm playing with Roger Earl? Has there been people like that? I'm sure there have been.
Yes, I suppose there could be some awkward moments, but no, I love. Actually, the band loves meeting our fans, and that's what was rough about the COVID nightmare. We always did meet and greets after the show. We would always go out and sign and shake hands and all that. But the COVID kind of changed that a lot. I've had all my shots. I've had COVID 3 times. Didn't die. Um, I would make myself get up as opposed to just laying there because it can knock you back. I don't know if you went through it,
I did.
but yeah, I mean, I had it 3 times, so um, you have to be wary about that. But life is for living, and we just started doing some meet and greets again now. But again, it's that time of year, uh, COVID, flu, all that stuff. But yeah, I enjoy meeting our fans and especially other bands, opening acts. When we're playing with them, yeah, we hang out and talk and tell stories and porky pies. No, no, I enjoy meeting younger artists and uh, in all truth, I mean, occasionally I get a chance to listen to the opening act because we get there an hour or two early, and there's some fantastic players out there who never actually get to sort of earn a living doing what they love doing. But yeah, the music, playing with other acts as well is a lot of fun and meeting people, and maybe you encourage them to sort of carry on with what they're doing. Yeah, it's I enjoy that part of it. It is cool.
I'm sure it is. Yeah. And I know that there, like you said, there's a lot out there that are they're playing drums and they're trying to be as good as you. Is there any advice that you would give? It, like you said, it's a different world today. What advice would you give to somebody that was starting out playing drums, maybe in a band that would help them out?
Yeah, the hardest thing is actually holding, keeping a band together. I mean, you have to have. I mean, instruments are not uh, cheap, and recording. And it's changed. I remember when I was growing up in England, and also when I first came to the States in '69. Um, when I was growing up in England, I was like 16, 17 years old, and we would rent a room above a pub in London or a union hall or something, and like send out flyers and put an ad in the local paper, and people would turn up. That doesn't happen anymore. The upside, I think, is as far as making music and creating music, that's changed. You can buy a board and a computer, for, I mean, back in the day, a board, a neat board would cost $2 million or more. And putting a studio together would cost $5 million. Nobody has that kind of money. But now
Right.
people sit down with their computer. And, if you've got instruments and stuff, that side of it has changed. But going out and like playing, 3 nights a week in a local band and like playing for 10 hours a night, in little dumps all over the country and sharing a bedroom with 4 or 5 other people. Um, I think you miss out on something not being able to, not doing that. And I don't think that's that's not how bands really, most bands function today. But uh, the truth is, if there's a will, there's a way. If somebody wants to do something, if you want it bad, you do it to whatever degree of success you get. It's like when I wanted to play. I mean, that was the only thing I wanted to do. I had a day job. I was a commercial artist. I left school when I was 15, and I had a job. Drums and cymbals weren't cheap.
Yeah.
You have to work. It's but you do it if that's what you want. If you're hungry enough, you do it, and along the way, you probably enjoy some making music and hanging out with other players. It's yeah, it's I love it. Are you kidding?
Sure. Sure. And what do you think about this the technology though? Talking about, like you said, you don't need a band now. You can record all you got already made riffs and guitars and bass and drums. They don't need you anymore. So what do you think about that? And what do you think about AI with the fakery and the
Uh,
fake voices and all that stuff?
well, there's over the year. Look, the thing is, it depends on how you want to embrace technology. The world is always changing. It's hey, just over 100 years ago, we couldn't fly.
Right.
There was no such thing as a plane. The Wright brothers were doing their thing, uh, and now we have jets and we go to the moon and we're off to Mars. So in technology and change is there. You can't. It's I'm somewhat of a luddite anyway, but when it comes to technology, but I surround myself with talented people.
So you kind of hide in the background with all these talented people. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's always changing, and somebody will embrace it, and of course the youth should do that. That's part of their job, to change and to improve the world, hopefully, because I don't think we've actually done such a brilliant job on it. But hopefully the youth will embrace it and change the world. But that's what you do with new technology. You'll take it and go, all right. It's what it is. You can't say no. You have to deal with it and hopefully get it right.
Right. I hope the future is bright as far as that goes. And speaking of the future, what kind of shows you got lined up and to celebrate this new album?
Yeah, we've got a number of shows. We're doing a show in New York City at the Iridium. It's a record release party, and we're going to be playing most of the album. We'll also play, of course, set, and we'll be playing some stuff that we've never played before. It's a party, and then we're going to do one out in California at the Coach House in San Juan Capistrano. We're going to have a record release party there. We'll be playing most of the album, and we'll intersperse it with other stuff. We'll probably play for a couple of hours. That's the fun part,
Right.
just
Right.
playing. And we've got some more shows coming up. We've got Christmas is coming up. We're doing a couple of benefits to raise money and toys for children.
Awesome.
It's all about the kids anyway. You know,
Yes.
us old bastards like have got our lives have been terrific and doing. And it gets me like when children get ill and like don't have a chance to really sort of live. So we do what we can for that. That I'm pleased about, that we're in a position to do that from time to time just to help out. And as the song goes, I'm going to roll till I'm old and rock till I drop. I don't feel very well.
Get the duct tape and tape yourself to the back of the chair. There you go. Tape hat, duct tape hat, man.
Yes.
Well, I appreciate you talking to me. I'm going to go jam to the album since I got a sneak uh, listen.
Okay.
I can listen to more of it.
Have a listen to the new record again, and maybe you can even give me your critique about it, because I'm always interested. I really love the album, and the band is really excited and pleased with what we've done, especially the way we put, I think, some really good songs together and the way we played. But I would like to hear your critique of it, actually.
Sure, I'll do a video, but I won't give anything away until maybe I'll do it on November the 10th or something. But
Right.
that's it, right? The
That's when it comes
Sonic
out officially. Sonic Mojo.
Sonic Mojo, November 10th.
I know. Let me read it again. Can I read it again?
Yes, sir.
So what does Sonic Mojo mean? It means sonic, adjective, a frequency within the audibility range of the human ear of waves and vibrations. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Mojo, a noun, a charm, an amulet thought to have magical powers.
Magic. And show the album more time with the colors and the inside and everything too. That's so cool. I love it. The purple record, the vinyl, so awesome. Man, I got to get that. I need one of those.
Yeah, we got these two.
That's awesome stuff. Well, I thank you for talking to me today. I've had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I have too, Gary. Thank you very much. Yeah, I have too. Nice day to wet. It's a beautiful day out as well. I'm in New York on Long Island. It's sunny. Last week it rained 7 days. We had floods, but today's really
wow.
Pleasure talking to you, Gary.
Yes, sir. I think it's going to be a good day. It's real sunny outside, but I'm going to go jam to your music. So, but I'll do a review of it, and it'll be a good one. But I thank you for hanging out, and we'll have to do it again one day.
It's been my pleasure, Gary.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I appreciate you. If you'd like to check out more about Foghat, go to their website, foghat.com. Pick up that album on November the 10th. And until next time, everybody, whatever you do, keep the music real.